Good afternoon and welcome to the Board of Works and Safety, October 4th, 2021 meeting. All rise to pledge allegiance led by Councilmember Becky Gibson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you, we praise you for how good you are and how good you've been to the city of Connersville, God. And we just pray that you will help those in the room make wise decisions this afternoon as they meet. And God, that you would continue to bless Connersville. And Father, let us make it a place where people love to be, God. And we just pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to begin by welcoming everyone. Please, as a reminder, make sure your cell phone ringers are off. We'll begin with roll call.
Brian Dahm.
Present.
Becky Gibson.
Present.
David Nutty.
Present.
Jim Barrett.
You have the minutes of the September 20th, 2021 first regular meeting. Any additions or corrections to that?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on down to new business. Mr. Stone, you want to come up, sir? I brought Adam Stone in. I was in a completely different meeting, by the way, and he came as a recommendation to a business acquaintance of mine who I respect a lot. And Adam started making his presentation, and I diverted quickly after that meeting and called him and go, you just answered a lot of questions that I have and some direction I've been really looking to go and talking with different mayors and different communities on how they do the budgeting, the financing. It's really called a controller is what it is. Some mayors have a full-time controller, some don't. Smaller communities can't justify hiring a full-time controller. But the financial planning is something it's huge in my book. Not only is it huge for what we do now, it's huge for whoever follows us, which is something that the ball gets dropped a lot, because when I first came in office, I had zero, other than what I knew from the council. And it's still a lot to learn. I still have a full concept of it. The taxes are very difficult. Even in Rosemary's position, how hard does it come in your learning curve? To me, it's very difficult. And it's a valuable resource to have a controller or someone doing that, so that whoever follows Rosemary, whoever follows me, has a valuable resource and a plan where it's already rolling and they can make adjustments as needed. But I feel like it's a hindrance to our community by that. I've been here almost 2 years, and it's still a struggle trying to figure out some of the stuff. That wouldn't have to happen. That puts us 2 years plus behind. And really, I'm trying to get ahead of the 8 ball on our end, and also whoever follows us, so they can be so successful as they continue to grow our community. So I brought Adam in to explain some of this, because he's explained it to me probably, I don't know how many times. I still have a full grasp of it because it's very difficult. He's an expert at it. So Adam, come on and make a presentation, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, and grateful the opportunity to come and present this afternoon and just introduce not only myself but our firm, and the opportunity to answer any questions that you may have. If I could start just with a quick kind of introduction about kind of our firm. So my name is Adam Stone. I started Stone Municipal Group about 4 years ago, and we now have customers in Indiana and California. We're a relatively small team, but we are dedicated purely 100% to local government finance. The state of Indiana, I'm an active CPA. We're also an independently registered municipal advisor firm with the Securities Exchange Commission, FINRA, and also hold a license, Series 50 license as well. So our focus, right out of college, I got an opportunity to be the controller for the city of Greenwood, Indiana. And that was really where I got really acclimated, and then also really got the bug of local government. And I am very passionate about, and I have seen firsthand, when we get this right, when we get the planning and the finances figured out, and we can make that transparent to folks such as yourself and then others that are officials and stakeholders in the community, when we can unlock that information and unlock those conversations, the you see more parks, you see more street work, you see more capital projects, you see the opportunities that present themselves for a city such as Connersville. So that's what makes me excited about it, right? Like I very much, I've said this many times, I'm not the accountant that I don't want to just stand behind the screen and stare at Excel all day. I want to be able to interact with you all and have those discussions and conversations to where we can set up that long-term plan that makes sense. So a little bit about us. So you can kind of flip through this and see we've had the opportunity to work with a number of different communities. One such example that I think is relevant to the proposal, and then a city of your all size, they're actually up for their budget adoption tomorrow night, and it was the first year we worked with them. When we started, their structured deficit for 2021 was actually north of about $400,000. So when we were engaged, they were happy with kind of status quo, but their starting structured revenue minus expenses were, for the general fund, were upside down about $400,000. We had many conversations with their council, their clerk treasurer as well, and I'm pleased to be able to say that tomorrow night, assuming council adopts, they will not only be structured surplus, they have money going to their rainy day. They have a reserve policy now that's set up for both general fund and rainy day that shows kind of what those levels should be. They're funding 2 new officers. They're getting a new K-9 unit. They're funding a police station. They're funding a new park, all in cash. And they're also funding ADA trails. They have grant proceeds. So it's a significant, from a budget outcome perspective, that's something we strive for. It's not to just get the numbers right and get them into Gateway, but really have conversations with you all to say, hey, what are those key outcome areas? What do you want to see? And then we try to help facilitate that and make that a financial reality. And that's something that's really been something that we're very passionate about. So that's a little bit about us. With regards to the conversation that I had with the mayor, which led to the proposal that you all have in front of you, I took a lot of notes during that initial conversation with him, and one of the key things that came out of that was that financial planning aspiration that you just shared. This idea where you kind of set up the rails or the direction, and then it's really an execution and monitoring and implementation of that. And it's a very sound strategy, because certainly as different projects come on, some will have to be cash financed, some will have to be lease or bond financed. So being able to have that kind of big picture and then being able to execute that against priorities is something that we're prepared to assist with. The other thing that you'll notice is that I have a saying that the budget, we do not believe that the budget is a one-time document. My guess is every single meeting you have something that's financial related in front of you. And we have that same kind of mindset. I was a budget director when I started. I knew that any given day the budget and the finances are different, right? So our methodology is that it's really a continual relationship whereby we're in active conversations with folks such as yourself, as well as departments and your team, to really make sure that we have long-term forecasts and plans that are up to date. That way, that anytime you have a question, we're able to react and adjust. That doesn't mean that we'll be static and that whatever the long-term plan is, that's what you have to do. But it's really more about getting that fiscal discipline to say, hey, this is the process that we follow. This is how often we meet. These are how the decisions are made. And that way, when a project such as, for example, Roberts Park is evaluated, it can be looked at both independent as a priority project, but then also the financial recommendation can also be weighed and viewed in the totality of what the 5-year plan is for the whole of government, if that makes sense. So that you don't accidentally overextend yourself. Just like in your personal lives, you wouldn't want to make a decision without taking into kind of the broad picture. That's exactly what's being proposed. So the feasibility study is really just an example where we've gotten started to get familiar with City of Connersville's tax structure, existing constitutional debt, et cetera. This is something that gives you kind of a proof of concept, if you will, of what our work product would look like. And then what I would say would be a little bit different going forward in this proposal. I'm also very big on visual. So this is very much what I would call kind of your traditional report. for the sake, when I would come before you to make any recommendations or ask for any kind of decisions, I'm also very keen on trying to make sure we have a visual summary of that as well, because I know just different people internalize financial information different ways. Some like more of your traditional tables and exhibits. Some, especially in the resident community, it might be better if we do it in more of a visualized manner. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of either the report or the proposal, or just about us, myself, or our firm.
What kind of time frame were you thinking that to be able to get all your information to where you can actually start doing a budget?
Yeah, so, I'm here till council meeting tonight, so I am getting started today. I mean, as far as pulling information is kind of where my head's at. As far as a budget for next year, I like to think about it as really a May through October duration in Indiana. That's just kind of the common life cycle. We tend to start a little early because we put a lot of weight into the goals and planning conversation. So rather than just jumping straight into bank reconciliations and revenue forecasts, really the first month of work for us is really trying to meet with the decision makers and stakeholders and say, hey, what have you heard this year? Where are the pain points that your community needs to focus on? And it gives us that time to gear up. So before we've ever even talked to a department, or before we've ever even looked at revenues, we have an idea of what those like kind of top budget outcomes or goals need to be. So from a budget development standpoint, just the actual calculation of this case, 2023's budget estimate, I would say we look at May through October of next year. The difference then between kind of the remaining first part of Q1 and Q4 is monitoring and implementation. And that's something that I've only learned from doing this, but it's key. So for example, you've probably adopted a budget and then a couple months later, someone's come back to you and asked for a change order or an amendment or something like that. And what that points to is kind of an implementation and monitoring gap. So one of the big things we also want to do is make sure we get that shared to departments early, we get it implemented into the system. Most importantly, we get that kind of just recurring cadence going. So that's a long-winded answer, but I hope that
No,
helps
that's
you.
fine. Would he be handling all the departments and utilities, or just the whole city budget?
We did not talk about utilities,
We
because
just
that's
talked
completely
city.
separate, so it would be everything but utilities at this point. He's not presenting by any means, he's starting right away, by the way. My goal was to get the information out, get the questions answered, you guys chew on it for a while, and my thinking was probably, if everyone's good with it, we gotta get the contracts, I'm thinking back to starting in November potentially. But I want everyone to just really mull this over, look at this, chew on it. I think we've all talked about financial planning enough. We're pretty on the same direction on this. But I wanted to bring it in, make a presentation, and let everyone get some good questions and strong answers, so we can get some good answers to everyone. That's kind of my timeline, is my goal.
I'd like to know what key people do you work directly with? And you mentioned something about timeline, so how much, are you here daily, weekly,
Yeah.
once a month, once a quarter? And what is the fee for your service for all
Sure.
of it?
Yeah, so I think the fee's outlined in the proposal, and we do a fixed fee. So what we've come to learn is that kind of a fixed monthly retainer for this kind of contract controller type work is usually the best, because I don't want you to be disencouraged to pick up the phone and call me. Same thing with anyone. I mean, I think that we ultimately want there to be high usage, and we don't want it to be a traditional I don't know if there's any attorneys in the room, but we don't want it to be like that. You know what I mean? We didn't want it to be where people were disencouraged to talk to us. So I think at a high level, that's how we've handled the fees, that it's just a fixed fee and it's basically unlimited hours at that point. With regards to the structure, I would say in the kind of monitoring stages, we'll probably be here kind of on an as-needed basis, but we'll be having recurring scheduled check-ins with the core kind of team, right? I don't have that identified yet, but that would be one of the things we would do. Best thing I can tell you is how other customers, in most cases, we're either working with council, department heads, kind of the city or town leadership, in a very, very tactical, frequent manner. So to the extent that we're having daily, weekly, or bi-weekly conversations, either in person, on phone, text, I mean, that's basically, we want you to view us as your contract employee, and you can text us, call us, email us as often as needed. When you get into budget season, I'm going to be essentially a permanent resident of wherever you provide me a desk for those key things, because virtual is great for some things, phones are great for some things, but when it's actually budget development, and I think you can't compromise on in person. I think just so much of that's lost when we try to do it over Zoom. So we would want to make sure we schedule and have those department one-on-ones and planning conversations scheduled in person, where it's convenient for those departments.
Is this what you call the proposal?
No, sir.
I've got 3 things here.
Here's in the packet, Dave.
And this one.
What's this one?
Yes.
The second page past the memo.
It was $2,500 a month. The fees were not to exceed.
Well, I had engaged Baker Tilly, just so you know. I've been pursuing this for a while, just trying to get fillers out. So utilities uses Baker Tilly, correct, Mike? I've been engaged in this conversation for a while. But when I found Adam, I was really struggling with Baker Tilly. I love Baker Tilly, they're good, but I think they're very busy with ARPA funds. And it's hard to pull them away and get the attention. Adam already knows I'm gonna require a lot of attention. And that's what I need. I want that personal relationship with someone who I can pick up the phone and call and not to go through corporate office, basically.
We pride ourselves on our responsiveness. I hope you felt that already, Mayor. Just when you reached out, we try to answer all the time. And we're currently very grateful and very proud. We have a 100% customer satisfaction survey result. So every single customer, either if they're a long-term permanent customer on these kind of recurring relationships or just project basis, we survey every single one of them. And right now, of all the surveys we've had completed between both states, we have a 100% customer satisfaction survey. So for me, again, my background was in local government finance. That's my first job out of college. And I learned by week 2 that if I make you upset, I'm done. You know what I mean? So for us, you'll never hear us on the radio. We're not big in conference booths and vendor halls. Like, word of mouth marketing is going to be whether or not we're sustainable or not. So for us, personal relationship is our absolute most critical factor. And we want to make sure that on the very beginning of a project and then months into a project, we want to be able to preserve that 100% customer satisfaction rate. That's very key to us. And we have planned checkpoints along the way to make sure that if we are way off, we reconcile that well before, otherwise.
So if this is approved, is this a annual renewal thing?
Yeah, it's annual renewal, and there's I think 30 or 60 days out. So if at any point I don't perform, you can fire me. We wanted to make sure to give you that. It's not scheduled for auto renew or anything like that. We have to continue to earn your business.
Any other questions while you're here?
Have you had a chance to talk to any of the other groups that are using them or cities by chance, just to see how it started? I'm just curious.
That's my plan for the next month.
Okay.
Before we
You have a list
present
of
any
references
approval.
here?
Yeah. I don't think I provided it in this, but I'm happy to get them for you. Yep.
This came through a business acquaintance of mine who uses him, and I trust more than anything.
Did you hear Rosemary?
No.
She asked for a list of references. He's going to get it.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'll get you a list of Indiana communities that I think would hopefully say everything I just said in a different way. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for me?
That's why we're not voting on anything.
Awesome. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on down to item B. Approve recommendation City Council to remove a handicap parking space at 2131 Vermont. Chief Polos, who out there, sir? There he is. The handicap parking at 2131 Vermont.
Yeah, McCurry's checked on that.
there's another one right down the road from that. Which one is that, to take away or put one back in?
This is delete.
Delete.
Yeah, we can delete that one, but I'm gonna come, we have to go look at another, like a few houses down from that we just got a doctor's note asking if we would put one in there, so we just got that a couple days ago, so we'll check on that, and I'll be back to put that back on the agenda.
See, Lowell said that's the place that has the handicap ramp on the house anyway?
That one?
Yeah. It's like the fifth house from the corner.
That they want one in?
No, that they want it removed because they just put a handicap ramp.
Yeah, this one here, if I recall right, we've had a couple, but this one here, they no longer live at the address and they're redoing the house. The prior residents that needed it, is no longer there, so.
Okay. Need a motion to
Yes, sir.
make a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve deleting the handicap parking space at 2131 Vermont Avenue. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, we have item C, approval agreement with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert for reassessment of the Pacer ratings. Brad?
This is just a renewal of something we've done the last several years. We're required to rate the condition of the roads each year, and this will continue that for another year.
This is agreement through the street department. Right?
It's actually kind of
With the
Joe Lisa.
city. With the city. They started back in 16, the community crossing grant, and in order to be eligible for that grant, you have to have a PACER management program in place where it inventories the condition of the streets at least every 2 years is required.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contract or the agreement with Butler, Fairman, and Seifert for reassessment of the Pacer ratings. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Item D, approval of the removal of the weed lanes at 603 Reed Street. Rosemary?
We're requesting approval of removing these weed liens. This property was purchased in between the time it was actually, the grass was mowed and it was recorded. So it was purchased and I don't think the seller did go to the courthouse and removed all liens at the time of the sale. But these liens were recorded after the sale. So I'm asking you to remove them.
Rosemary, was this the same one that you had an email out asking for removal of the liens?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. And item E, you have the approval of the agreement with the Connection Cafe. Rep?
If you remember, maybe a month or two ago, Sherman Gabbard was here and she gave you a presentation about how they want to rehab bicycles for people that have recovered from drug addiction to help them out. And this MOU would be the agreement that we would have to let her come and take one bicycle at a time. They would rehab it, give it to somebody, and then continue with another one.
I remember on the last time we talked about that, I believe Rosemary asked how we could get it out of the inventory.
They're not inventoried.
You're not?
They're
Okay.
not inventoried. This is just approval to start giving them bikes to repair and get back into circulation.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And separate, Brad, you got the approval agreement with PSG.
I think Rosemary will explain that one, won't you? I can tell you a little bit about it. I can't remember the length of the agreement, but it's a 5-year agreement, I believe, that will, they will provide oversight of the continued operation of the panels. There's also a 3-year agreement in there for the maintenance of the big solar field down at the ballpark that is for the wastewater treatment plant. We established a sort of a wildflower bed in there so that we wouldn't have to mow it and try to mow around those panels. Well, it takes 2 or 3 good years for that to get established, and I'm afraid if we don't let them continue to manage it, we'll mess it up. And we spent a lot to put those in. Can't remember how much, but it was a lot. So this agreement would provide management, provide counsel on the project, and maintain that field at the solar field for the wastewater treatment plant.
I move that we approve the agreement.
And this is for all locations, right?
Yes.
Okay. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with PSG. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
The next thing,
Okay,
recently, still me, right?
jump the gun, I gotta announce it. We have approval of resolution 2021-43, addendum to the street garage department, sanitation and parks department contract. Now you can go.
My turn. So we've been in discussions for a while, and since we just purchased what will be 2 trash trucks by the middle of next year, we wanted to get an agreement with the union at the street department where we would have a pool of trash truck drivers and not just one guy. It seems like ever since I've been there, all we've done is hire and train trash truck drivers, and then somehow leave, and then we end up just in continuous training. So the 2 guys that are we have a guy that's training on the trash truck right now and one that is already accomplished. He's a pretty accomplished driver. They will be in this pool, and the next time we hire another person that's on the trash truck, then we'll have 3. And they'll take turns. Every 2 weeks they'll switch. And I think this will keep it's just a very monotonous job for one person to be stuck with year in and year out, and nobody ever lasts on it. I think this will help us not constantly be training people.
How'd the resolution actually read? Because on the back of my page was the thing about the bicycles. I didn't see any language at all about what the...
Have mine. Flip it over.
Brad, well, you're going to be a total of 3, right?
Eventually. Right now,
And
2.
The one currently is already established his skill to get that 80 cents an hour or whatever it was. Will each one of those get that once they reach that point of collecting?
But they only get the 80 cents when they're in the truck. The rest of the time they go back down and don't get the 80 cents. So,
I think this is a good idea, and I make a motion we accept.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And lastly, approval agreement with Stern Associates for the long-term headworks plan.
so I guess all of you have seen that proposal with a really big number on it. I've tried to have independent discussions with everybody to answer questions and talk about that. This agreement is for the headworks project. This is for the final design agreement, and maybe somebody's got the number very handy, but it's,
You have the final copy for signature?
he does, he has it with him.
Is that the 2.03?
Yes. $2,037,000. That will provide the final design of the project. It also provides construction inspections in that number.
Yeah, start off all the engineering technical services that are needed through the completion of the project.
And as I've been telling you, this is what started out 15. It's more like I am hoping $17 million when it's all said and done. It could go higher than that with contingencies and higher prices and things right now, so.
Availability of the equipment, probably.
Yeah. So,
Now, this will include the additional things we think is really needed
yep.
because of their age and so forth.
This will build the headworks and the screening for the plant. This will build the phosphorus removal part of the project, and it will also move our raw sewage pumps over into this new area. That's what I made sure I wanted all of you to see, the condition of the raw sewage pumps that we have now. There's no doubt in my mind we would have to do something with those over the next couple of years anyway, so it's added a little bit of an increase in price to the project, but
We're gonna spend more than that repairing what's there.
Matt Smith is here from Strand if anybody has any questions on this design agreement or any questions on the project.
Ask
I
Brad.
don't have any questions. I think you explained it very well.
Yeah, good job.
It's a needed project that, in my opinion, needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us down and giving us the, view of what helps us make the decisions.
These are big numbers, so
Yeah.
deserves a big attention.
Explain what you did so everyone understands the education process you put into showing them the problems and what we gotta do.
Well, I just wanted everybody to have eyes on where we're gonna build the project, what all's included in it, where it's gonna be located at the plant, all the different parts of the construction. I in particular wanted them to see the condition of the raw sewage pumps that we're replacing in this project. They're pretty, as you can all attest, they're not looking too good. So for the long term, those needed to be moved. I mean, they needed to be rebuilt. We just assumed we would rebuild them where they were, but a few weeks ago, we got talking about it and
Yeah,
last minute decided to move them, so.
yeah, I think it's an efficient use of this project to add that to it. The structure size really doesn't get any larger. You're just able to get a brand new, a critical part of your plant put in a brand new area, and the old stuff that was built in the 50s will be abandoned in place. So from an efficiency standpoint, I think it's just a good way to move forward. So.
Any other questions?
Make a motion, we'll go ahead and approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Strand Associates for the long-term head works plan. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Brad, you're up on the Tetra Tech.
So recently, matter of fact, towards the end of last week, we got an agreement with Tetra Tech that I felt like we should move forward with without waiting until the next meeting. It's a sampling agreement. We're moving forward pretty quick towards a long-term monitoring plan agreement with IDEM, and we really need to get keep these samples on track for 2021. And I was afraid if we wait till the 18th, it'd be a couple weeks before they could get started. We might not be able to get them in. So these prices aren't out of line at all with what we usually pay. Matter of fact, it was pretty reasonable, I thought, with what we usually pay for sampling. So I'd like to ask you to go ahead and give me approval to get that agreement with Tetra Tech made and get them busy taking those samples.
One of the things I like is a person who you're corresponding with, he's been familiar with our situation from nearly the beginning. He knows the history, he knows just all of it.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Beck would be a good person to keep involved in.
Knowing the history of it, and knowing that it's very important that we do sample, I'd like to make a motion, we approve this contract.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Tetra Tech. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And just so you know, eventually that sampling will fall in line to be done when our usual Century well testing is done. That's what we're working on, this long-term plan. We'll decide how those are staggered and mixed in with our regular sampling, so.
So Peerless won't do your Century wells anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Well, I don't know, I may have these guys quote to do all of them, because as cheap as this was, might be saving some money. Plus, the guy we've been using from Peerless is retiring anyway. I don't know if you knew that. I want to remind everybody again about Shred Day. It's this Saturday from 8 to 11:30 at the transfer station. If you've got any, it's a really good way to recycle and get rid of important documents in a secure way. We've got a bunch of scrap metal that we need to get rid of down at the wastewater plant that we've been saving for a while. I wanted to bring up and try to get. permission to scrap some. It's just old pumps and parts of pumps and things that are no longer usable. And all that stuff will be taken off the inventory if it's not already.
Okay. So Brad's asking for permission to get rid of scrap metal.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
It's a little bit, we're still haggling a little bit on the dates, but we are coming upon getting a timeline together for the SRF work that Baker Tilly's going to do in conjunction with the wastewater headworks project. Like I say, we haven't quite settled on a timeline because we think SRF wants to close this loan in the third quarter. So I just kind of wanted to let you know that you'll probably be hearing from us talking about what adjustments need to be made to the rates to get SRF financing approved. We're hoping that there's no huge adjustments needed. I really don't think there is, but they're going through the process now of looking into that. But it looks like most of these dates will stay pretty close to what they were. But it looks like they'll probably have a rate together in January. So we'll probably be talking to you about what needs to be done with the rates in, it looks like February, and then council would be asked to conduct a public hearing on rates in March, in early March, if the schedule stays as it is proposed.
Yeah, it's wastewater only.
And storm. Yeah. I think I wanted to let you know one last thing. I signed the salt agreement with Compass today at Compass Minerals. The cost of salt went up to $88 a ton from $80 last year. And just like we did last year, I reserved 500 ton, and that means we have to purchase 400. We've got about 300 ton on the ground over there. So I think unless we have a really crazy winter, that should hold us over.
You have a collection request.
We did that last meeting.
It got carried over. That's the one we approved at the last meeting. For Charlie Brown's barber shop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you. Chief Jones.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Back in August, the board gave me permission to hire someone with the vacancy that we had with the retirement. We met with our committee, Mr. Barrett's on the committee. We all discussed our options and we chose Brady Bolos. I sent Brady up to Public Safety Medical. He passed all the requirements up there and they recommended he be hired, and our local pension board voted and approved him, and he has also been accepted into the 1977 Police and Fire Fund. So I'm requesting your permission to start him effective October 13th.
Motion to approve the chief's request.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hey, Mr. Polos. You're supposed to give a speech.
Next time.
Yeah.
For future reference,
Good answer.
You always say okay.
Superintendent Good.
Hello?
Hello.
I just came to ask permission to ask for some money today. The first thing is from the foundation. Jaleesa had presented that we are pursuing some grant money to purchase AED equipment that would require a 20% match from every department budget. I've been speaking with the foundation about them matching it for the Parks Department and just need permission. It's about $800.
Make a motion to approve Catherine's request.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
The second thing is for Second Street Park. There, and this is more of a question as well. We are pursuing several corporate businesses to give us funding for Second Street. Some of those businesses, like Waste Management, they gift in the form of what they call a grant. It is not a typical grant where you enter into a contract with, you know, reporting requirements and things like that, but since it is under that term, I didn't know if I needed to ask permission or if I need to ask permission to ask for gifts. So one of the ones we're pursuing is with Waste Management. I plan on asking them for $10,000. We are also pursuing another bank here in town that gifts the same way. So, kind of curious what I'm supposed to do with those.
They're gifting through grants,
But they're not really grants.
but they're using the word grant. What do you think of that one? You're the expert.
She gets
It's an
gifts from other
application
people.
project or process, but the outcome is just a check. It's not a contract.
And you keep all those, we keep all those grants, all those gifts separate in a restricted fund. So just ask permission to even apply for the grant, even though it's a gift.
Okay. And I need permission
Was there
for,
any recommendation from the park board? What direction to go? No?
raise money.
Make a motion to approve Catherine's request.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody have any old business? Any miscellaneous business? Claims.
Claims for October 4th at utilities, $329,370.88. Payroll, $578,973.98. City was $58,985.99.
Motion to approve the claims?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Public forum. Anybody from the public have anything to say out there? Can't see if anyone's out there. If not, we'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Have a good day.